Dave knew some of his grandparents and heard stories about his great-grandparents. But like so many African Americans, when it comes to tracing back much farther than that, he hit some roadblocks.
My grandmother said that a lot of my ancestors came from Ghana. Other than that, I really don't know much. When everyone came over as slaves, there's no documentation, and there's no way to really know your history past that point. That's what makes this really important for me, being African American.
The mountains of Central Asia are among the last places Dave expects that history to lead. But here in Tajikistan, and other remote countries in the region, Wells is finding that some of Dave's DNA, along with much of the rest of the world's, sprung from right here.
Central Asia is a fascinating part of the world. It really is kind of a melting pot. It's really the meeting point between East and West. You can really see this almost written in the faces of the people. They do seem to be very mixed, and in some cases it's very difficult to say, well, this person looks East Asian or this person looks European. They're a combination of all of that and more.
If we look back about 40,000 years, we see the source of all these mixes were Dave's ancestors. When they first followed the grasslands to this region from the Middle East, climate was shifting between cold and relatively warmer periods. Through it all, these high mountain peaks provided a steady and vital resource: water. During good times, people could venture away from their stable water supply and onto the grasslands to hunt. During the bad, they'd retreat to their mountain base. For thousands of years, climate shifted from cold to warm and back again. And Dave's ancestors responded.
They begin to find techniques for hunting these animals, projectiles instead of thrusting spears. With spears you can throw at these animals.
They stitched together clothing and built shelters. Quite literally, they toughened up.
They had a lot of things to adapt to. It was quite a harsh existence in some ways, very different from what they were used to in Africa. And so they developed cultural advances that allowed them to survive.
The changes were more than technological and cultural. They were physical. Under these harsh conditions, sunlight was hard to come by, which means people were not only toughening up, they were lightening up as well.
Our African ancestors would have had relatively dark skin. Got lots of sunlight, it's a very tropical place. You need some way of protecting your skin from the sun.
Dark skin acts as a natural sunblock in the tropics, but in the tundra of Central Asia, where sunlight is scarce, it's a liability. People need to let in all the sun they can to produce bone-building vitamin D.
As we moved into northern latitudes, and in particular probably into the region of Central Asia, we would have needed to lose some of that pigmentation. And so probably our skin started to become much lighter around that time, roughly 40,000 years ago.
Like all of our other physical differences, the genetic changes responsible for our varying shades of color are minuscule. Just a handful of mutations out of the more than 3 billion letters in the human genome form the foundation for humanity's entire notion of race. Tangible proof of something Dave and his girlfriend Michelle already know.